Hey, hi, how are you? My name is Allison. I am known as Mrs. Allison's Tutoring and Behavioral Mentor Services. Yep, Behavioral Mentor Services. What does that mean? Well, just what it says. I work on behavioral. I do it on different levels for different reasons. One of them is those who are on the autism spectrum or have ADD and ADHD and just have some behavioral problems, like ODD and CDD, which is, which contribute to their behavior of not listening and outbursts and all that good stuff. So, for me, I actually raised a child on the spectrum, and he's soon to be 19, and I did, I think, a pretty darn good job. Now, was it a lot of work? Absolutely. Absolutely it was a lot of work. But was the work worth it? You better believe it. And I'll show you in a little bit why. But yes, the work was worth it, and I did it because, number one, he was my kid, and it was my responsibility. So, obviously as a parent, we gotta do what we gotta do. And number two, when he was 7, I didn't look at number 7. I looked at number 18, and I said, well, whatever I do now, because that's the age he was diagnosed, whatever I do now till the time he's 18, he's gonna make a huge difference on how his life is gonna come out. And I drove myself with that vision, and I educated myself. I got involved. I went to because I was new at it. Like any of you who are looking at this, you're probably new at it, or you're trying to figure out tips and tricks. Yes, it's one hard road, absolutely. But for me, it was a little bit, I think, easier, only because, like, I always implemented, I'm not going to say ABA therapy, because I didn't even know it was that back then, but all the techniques that it does with my older daughters. And it was just something normal that I was accustomed to doing. And then when I needed to implement it in the home, I really implemented it in the home and did everything that they do today. From, I think it was started in 2000, on the ABA, and how they apply it with the DTT and the shaping and the preferred assessment and the discrimination teaching, continuous measurements, discontinuous measurement, prompting, all of those good things. I naturally did all that without even freaking knowing I was doing it. I kid you not. But anyway, I just knew. I knew, and I implemented. I did a lot of discrete DTT, discrete trial training. I did one task at a time. It took a while to get each one done, but it was worth it. I was able to go ahead and flip all those behaviors that he did when he was little on about 18, 19 months. And I'm talking about not being able to sit at the table when he's eating, not being able to sit in the chair when he was in school, dropping the pencil, outburst in the classroom, doing his work really fast and getting it wrong, being silly, always, wanting attention. And I was able, and running around in the cafeteria. And so it was nothing ever devious, but it was always like very, very playful. So I worked on all that, and I just implemented rewards. I just knew what to do. I said, look, we got to do this, we got to do that. Handwriting, he had an issue with his handwriting. I sent him to therapy. Listen, therapy is your number one thing. Whatever I tell you on this video, this is for you to go ahead and implement in the home, but it does not replace therapy, because therapy is really, 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 really good and important for every child, but it's for you and what to implement. And this is good for RBTs, actually, which I am one, for a child, but for my own company, I mentor children. So I kind of use the same exact techniques, except with the RBT, I have to follow the rules of the BCBA, and so for that child, I'm an RBT. For the rest, I'm a behavior mentor. So, again, you concentrate on that number 18. Be creative. Children are powerful, okay? Their brains are very, very powerful, very smart, and shaping their brains at an early age is really, really important. And you got to take every opportunity to shape their brains. And what is an easy way to do that? Well, the child's got to earn everything, like everything. Take advantage of everything that child wants and use it as power to shape his mind where you want him to be. Now, is it a challenge? Yes. Does it take time? Yep, sure does. So the first time I did it, the very, very first time I did it, it took me about 6 weeks, and that was to get my son on to being able to sit at the table and eat his dinner without getting up. Now, once he was done with his dinner, I did excuse him because he did stay for the entire dinner. I'm not going to have him just sit there while everybody else, so I let him go. That was the very first thing, and that took about 6 weeks. Now, I did it by implementing a reward system. It was a token system. I literally opened up a book one day, Magic 123 it's called, and I opened it and it said token system. That's all I read. That was it. I didn't even look into it. I knew what to do. So I implemented the reward system, called the token system, and that was my magic to everything I did with my son all the way through graduation day. Now he's 18, so I kind of let off a little bit. He's a high school graduate from 2022, graduated at 17, never failed a grade, luckily. There were struggles, there was moments where he may have, but I was right there to guide him and to make sure he kept up. I was literally his therapist through his childhood. Like, I kid you not. I just knew what to do, I knew how to do it, and I successfully did it. But not everybody has that within them, so please, therapy is awesome, and it really, really helps. So I worked on that with him, and I never stopped it. I did it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the entire year would go by after year, and I kept it on. You just got to tweak it as they get older. So, and you have to have a lot of rewards, okay? And again, you listen to what they like, and you take advantage, you get it, you smoothly enter it in the conversations as a motivation. Oh, by the way, I know you like Spider-Man. Yeah, well, I was thinking about, we can go ahead and get you this. Oh yeah, now they're all hyped up, or they told you about it. So, you'll remind them, hey, I know you told me about that, and I think that's a great idea if you can get it, if you do this, this, or this. And you'll see how magical that really works. So you got to have a lot of creative rewards going on. Dry erase boards at eye level is like a must. You got to have them throughout the house. I had them throughout the house. I still have them throughout the house, and I still use it. And I said in the beginning of the video, I think I said, I'm going to show you why, and it was worth all my time. And I have it here, and it's a reminder to me, but a reminder to you what it could be if you implement some kind of system in your home. I recommend mimic the RBT who is giving therapy to your kid, because if they're successful at it, then you could be successful at it. That's my recommendation. I was like my sons, so I didn't have anybody to do it. I just did it. But he did have other therapies. He had occupational therapy, and he had speech therapy. I put him in handwriting therapy for 2 days, 2 sessions. And I told my daughter, observe, and I made a magic trick there, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And when they reach milestones, make big deals about it. Make big deals about every milestone they make. That gives them power. It gives them motivation to do it again. Okay? Now this is what my child wrote me. Give me a moment to read it. 2 weeks before he graduated high school. That means in 2022, in June or late May 2022, he wrote this. Now, this is one of the dry erase boards I used since the time he was 7.5 years old. Same board, same place it's sitting. I have them throughout the house, literally. I have about 5 of them. And then I have them all over. Like, I use them all over. I have all different kinds. This is a new one. When you see me looking away from the camera, I am reading, so I don't, so I make sure I cover the topics. I have boards on each side of me. I have a creative board like this, which I use for the kiddos. This is something like, when they're writing, it's easy for them to, like lean on or whatnot. So, I have dry erase boards all over. I use them for positive messages. I use them for reminders. I use them for a lot. So anyway, 2 weeks shy, he erased my message to him was that I had for him, which said something like, I'm proud of you, you did it, and chuckling, saying that diploma really belongs to me because all the sacrifice we have to put to get them motivated and to get them up every day and make sure they stay motivated and they don't lose that that drive. So it was a lot of work, but like I said, this made it worth it. And so make big deals. Now, never, ever, ever, ever give in. Because if you give in once, then they're going to know you'll give in again. So you can't give in. You got to use reverse psychology. You got to compromise, but you cannot give in. Because if you do, you lose. That's it. Because they know if they tell you or persuade you in a good enough way, you'll give in. And my sons tried it, and I always went back and I compromised where I still became the winner, but even though he was the winner. So I gave him tasks that are to learn, the things that he was weak on, if he wanted certain things. So we compromised and listen, he's the one who, it was a win-win situation, and it was all for him. So another thing, listen, build your child up. Build them up. Listen, whenever I meet a child, okay, whether it's for tutoring, because I do tutoring, or if it's for the behavioral services, or if it's for the RBT services I'm providing, I always get those children, okay? The first thing I do is I let them know I am on their side. I let them know I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you stay out of trouble. I'm here to make sure you fix those little things that you keep getting in trouble about. I have conversations with them. I give them a plan, and we compromise. And we keep each other's words. Like, I'm stern when I tell them it, but I have them look at me in the eye, and I hold their hands, and I let them know, and I make that connection with them. You got to build them up. You got to tell them you believe in them. Let them tell themselves, I believe in myself. My autistic ones that I do, mentor, I tell them, tell yourself you could do it. I did it yesterday with one. He's in 3rd grade, he's 9, and he's got to pass to the 4th grade, and he's got to do the test, and that test is going to determine if he goes to the 4th grade. And I asked him a couple of times if he understood. He said no, but yesterday he told me he did. So I grabbed his hands and I held him, and I had him look at me, and I said, you tell yourself before you go to sleep Sunday night that you are going to do awesome in that test. And when you wake up in the morning, you remind yourself that you're going to do great on that test, and you believe in yourself. And before you take that test, you remind yourself again, you are going to do awesome, because I know you can. I know you, and I believe in you, and you believe in yourself. You got to make them believe in themselves. You got to fill their brains with that over and over and over and over again. It's discrete trial training nonstop. You always got to roll into something. right? If once they grasp it, then you roll on to something else. But you're constantly doing discrete trial training. In other words, that means, working on one task at a time for them to understand how to do something or how to achieve something or whatever it is. One task at a time so you don't confuse their brains, right? So believing in them is really, really important. Now, moms, you gotta be their mom. You gotta be their therapist. You gotta be their number one therapist. I say because they're with you the longest, right? I know it sounds, you're not, but you're with them the longest. So, you have to be their number one therapist. You have to be their mentor. You gotta be their voice. You gotta, you gotta be their leader. You got a huge role to play with your child, and you're the leader. And the way you lead them, the way you structure your home is going to be the way that you're going to be either successful or not so successful. And we all want success. So these little tips, listen, every child is not going to work for it, but you got to tweak it to where it will. Because every kid wants something. Now, this is more for high functioning and absolutely moderate. In other words, level 2 and 3. Level 1 and 2. Levels 1 is the mild, and level 2 is the moderate. Those two. Level 3 might be a little bit more challenging. So my tips are more for, again, level 1 and level 2. Okay, so therapy, as I said it a few times, very, very important. That is your village. You've got to keep your kids on therapy. It is really, really, really important to have them on therapy. And I had my son on therapy till he was 12. And they would all say, why do you have us? Like, you're doing exactly what we do. And I'm like, well, you're getting paid. So then they, didn't bother me anymore. But, they saw that I did. And everybody I told the story to, every insurance company, every doctor I told, they were like impressed on the way I do it. And I showed them the results. I've been to parent, and I showed them the results. I would send them results, and they're like, we need parents like you need, But it was just the way I said. It was my son, and I just said, I got to get him where he's got to be before that magic number 18. So I did. Now, I like to use positive reinforcement in everything I do. I don't like to use negative. I like to see positive, positive, positive. Build up, never break down. Don't tell a kid he's not worth it. Tell him you're gonna make it. You got this. You could do it. I believe in you. You could do anything you want to do. Build them up. Make them feel special. Make them feel wanted. Make them feel needed. Give them chores. Give them responsibilities. That makes kids feel important. Any kid. So everything I just talked about is everything I did with my son. There's a whole bunch more. This is just like the introduction pretty much. But there's just lots and lots of tricks that you just got to learn, and you got to roll, and you got to change. You always got to have a plan B. You always have to understand your child, and that's like the absolute number one. Once your child is diagnosed, you need to start learning about that diagnosis. Start matching up. Does this really match up? Sometimes doctors make the wrong diagnosis. Okay, listen, it happens all the time. So you want to just, for giggles, compare. And then based on that, start learning your child's brain based on those diagnoses. In other words, on the symptoms of the diagnosis. Start learning and comparing, and then start dissecting what are those, and how can you prevent or improve or whatever it is you're looking for. Learn your kid's brain. Learn what triggers, what triggers the behavior. What triggers that behavior? Now, I could tell you, I had a client who actually had an RBT, but the mother hired me as his tutor, and I didn't know he had an RBT. And I explained to the mom what I do when she hired me. She never even told me he was on therapy. So I told her what I did and how I do it, and she was so impressed. She's like, we love you already. You need to come in our home and this and that. So the boy is 4 years old. He's now 5, but then he was 4. And I worked with him as a tutor. Now, when I walked into his home, I walked in with my bag of goodies, and his issue was letter recognition. So I had the ABCs, of course, and dry erase board, and a little fishy game, similar to this one, just a little bit smaller, and a few other things, a pointer, which I used this a lot, little pointers, and I went in there and I met with him, and the first thing he did was touch my bag, and I said, no, we don't do that. You must respect what is not yours. And I was a little stern because he must understand that he cannot touch what's not his. Now, one of the problems was he was a destructor. He touched everything in his home. So I already knew, and that's why I spoke to him that way. So now he kind of understood he can't touch my stuff. Well, maybe not. So later that day, when the session was over, he asked me when was I leaving. And I found that odd, and me doing what I do, I caught on. I said, why are you asking me when am I leaving? What is the secret? What you got hiding? He said, oh, nothing. So I go and I said, okay, well, let's put my stuff away. And I noticed there was 3 little fishies missing. They were much smaller than this. And this is pretty small. They were much smaller because I got them in the Dollar Tree. Okay. So he said, I don't know. I said, well, I came here and there were 6 and now there's only 3. So you must have 3 in your pocket. And he goes, no, I don't, Miss Allison. And I said, Mom, I can't leave here until I get my fishies. Well, they were in his pocket and he had to return them. He put them in my hand. We returned them. He looked at me and I said, you're not going to do this again. You're not allowed to touch Miss Allison's stuff. Is that clear? And he shook his head. Yes. Well, I said, okay, we're going to make sure you understand that. What did I do? I brought a whole big old game of this. That was, I don't know, like an 8-inch rounder. And I took this similar one and I put it on his windowsill with a piece of candy, a Starburst, one of these. I put it in his mouth, right? And I put it on his windowsill. And I told his mother, I said, Mom, I'm going to put this on the windowsill. And Liam's not going to touch it. Right, Liam? And he said yes. He understood. And I said, okay. I excused him. That name I gave you was not his real name, but that's what we'll call him. And Mom, once he moved out of the room, I said, Mom, don't you think for one moment, not 1 second, that he's not going to touch this. He's going to touch the candy, and he's going to touch the fishy because it's temptation. So I left. The next morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, I messaged the mother, please look on the windowsill. Is it gone or is it there? It's gone. Uh-oh. It's gone. I knew that would happen. I said, Mom, don't worry. I said, do you know where it is? She said, no. I said, well, does he know where it is? No, he said. Okay, well, you got a job to do. I need you to go find it. And when you find it, I need you to put it where he will find it. And I had a talk with him, and he understood that he's going to go find it, and he's going to put it back on the windowsill. And I gave him 5 hours to do it because I was at work. Well, guess what? Yep, he found it, and he put it back. That little fishy, just like this. I told the mother I was going to show her magic. I said, I'm going to show you magic out of this. I said, he's not going to touch it anymore. I said, I'll use his name again, Liam. You're not going to touch this anymore, right? No, Miss Allison. I said, are you sure? Yes, Miss Allison. I said, okay. It stood there 14 weeks I worked with that boy. Now, I worked with him on behavior. He was able to sit down, the mother said she cannot understand how I was the only person who ever walked into her house to earn her son's respect, and how I was able to sit down with him for an entire hour without him moving. Of course he moved, but moving, in other words, distraction, I was able to do it. I said, because I don't let them lose focus. They are to focus, and he's on the spectrum. So it's not that he's not. And I worked with him, and I was able to fix those behaviors. The mother wrote a letter that I was a child whisperer, how I was able to do the changes that no therapist that walked ever in her house was able to do. And I found that pretty odd, but that's what she said. And I was able to do things that, because I create structure, I demand respect from day one. And I give respect from day one, because that's the way it is. Children, they deserve the same dignity as we all do. So I don't break those rules. Now, autism, ADHD, ADD, ODD, and CD. All of those are the ones that I can handle, that I manage. And I do the exact same thing. In other words, not the exact same procedure, but I implement the same ideas into every session. Everyone is different. Every kid is different. So of course, but based on what they need work on. I identify it, I shape it, and then I maintain it, and then the parents need to take over, and they gotta maintain it because they gotta maintain it. So learn your child's brain, and that fishy is just an example on how powerful the brain is, and how you can get them to do things that you need them to do for their own benefit, right? Get involved. Get yourself involved with other parents that have children on the spectrums that your child's are on. Get involved. Learn. Get out there. Look at older children. Look at the future on what might be the route your child might be on, and what you could help him to avoid that. Trust me, that's what I did. I even did it all the way up to adulthood. I would love to be involved with bosses who were on the spectrum, high functioning, and I did it. I worked with several, and I was successful at it. I learned, and people would ask me, how do I do it? And I told them how I enjoy it. I truly enjoy it, and that's what I do. So anyway, get involved. Get into school. Make sure that the teacher is following the plan. Make sure that the 504 plan is being followed. Because a lot of times the teachers do not follow it, and you really, really have to be sure that they are. And that's why a lot of times you have the RBTs now who are in the classroom. So so they could implement that behavior. But anyway, the next one is be creative, energetic, exciting. You got to keep motivated. You have to keep the kid motivated. Don't just stop and think that motivation is not a necessity, because it really, really is. You got to keep them motivated throughout the entire time you're raising them. That's just your job. Keep them motivated. Keep them find ideas. Find every day. Just listen to what they say. Listen what they like. Listen to where they want to go. Listen who they want to play with. Listen to the treats that they want. Listen to what they want for his clothes. Listen to what they want for school. They want the book fair. They want I don't know. They want to go to the movie theater. All of those things are power to these kids to get them where they want to go. Hey, listen, they are normal people just like you and me. Now, they go through that puberty. A lot of times kids 12, 13, 14 years old, they're going through the prime of their puberty. Parents got to remember that's not part of their diagnosis. That is part of human nature. They go through it. So they're going to have their ups and downs. Don't confuse that. Consistency. Oh boy, man, consistency and persistence, that's a must. Like, you gotta literally repeat yourself over and over and over and over again. And sometimes the way I do it is I do it in different ways. I mean, I repeat myself, but I do it in different ways of repeating. I'll say it this way today. Tomorrow I'll say it this way. Or if I'm doing DTT with, for example, my granddaughter, teaching her 3, every 15 minutes, hey, Gigi, how old are you? How old are you, Gigi? And she's also on the spectrum. How old are you? Oh, you're 3, that's right. Or 15 minutes later, oh, Gigi, how old are you? And at one point she said, Grandma, I'm 3. But I kept on, and I told my daughter, you gotta maintain it now. You gotta just keep reminding her. And I did that in one session, okay? But now every time I talk to her, Gigi, how old are you? And then she'll put up her 3 fingers. Not like this, but like this. So, but she does it. And the next thing is always have a goal. Always have a vision. That is so very important. You got to work towards goals, just like you got to do in your personal life. Well, for these kids, you have to help them reach those goals. And when those goals are met, like I said earlier, you got to make really big deals about it. Like, they struggled through 6th grade. When they get to 7th grade, you got to really pump them up. And if they did good, you got to make like a huge deal about it. A lot of people don't believe in that. They think that's spoiling your kids. That's their way of understanding how to get to where they got to go. So if that's what we got to do as parents, that's what we got to do. And ignore all the ones who think we're spoiling our kids, because I know 100% without a doubt that is not true, because my son only knows about earning things, not about receiving things. Okay, because that's how I raised him from a very little boy. Okay, and that goal, you gotta have a realistic vision. You gotta have visions to his potential. Don't go and say, if he's struggling reading, I'm gonna get him reading perfectly in 2 months. That's insane. No, it's hard for these kids. So you gotta be realistic. You have to make little steps and celebrate those little steps. And each step that you get to, eventually you'll get to the top, or the child will. Then you gotta build them up, man. You gotta make those kids, feel confident. You gotta build them up. I mean, tell them all the time they're awesome. You got this. I believe in you. Anybody who interacts with the kids should do it, but moms, you're their safe haven. You are their safe haven. Listen, if you believe in your child is going to believe in you. If you show that child you believe in him, that child's going to show you what he can do. And any promise he makes you, he's going to complete it, because he knows that you believe in him. So that's really, really, really important. I use these. I'll put them on the desk, I do it to anybody. You don't need to be on the spectrum to use these motivators. You do it. Just do it with anybody. It doesn't matter who you do it with. Your mom, your dad, your neighbor. We all need it sometimes. And then I have all kinds of things that, what they need, whatever the kid needs. So if I'm in the school with the kid, and whatever it is, this says ready to learn. So I need to make sure that he or she is in their chair, ready to learn, focused, ready to take, the lesson. And then we have here, what I learned. These are really important. These are stimulators. That'll get them going. And then we have, little reminders again. Now these are like desk reminders, I call them. But I use them in tutoring. I use them all of this stuff I used for my son. So anything I'm telling you is exactly what I did for my son. And I just implement it now I've done it with at least 30 other kids. So it's not a small number. See, little things like this. And I uplift cancer patients around the world. So, and I use those techniques as well. You could do it. You got this. Make them feel, build them up, build them up. And then these are little desk reminders. I just have them on a laminated sheet, but I do cut them and I put them on the desks. And these are, instead of having the teacher call out, as a child is being if it's interrupting the class, the teacher just needs to point, or in this case, the RBT needs to go ahead and point to that, and the child needs to, pay attention to that message. And then I'm really big on rewarding kids. Kids need a lot of rewards, a lot of motivation, a lot of uplifting. This is one of the things I wrote for an ADHDer. This is something that is for autism, ADHD, anything that that's a struggle. You want to advocate for. You want to just go. If it's in your family, you want to go hardcore. You want to go hardcore on motivating, on uplifting, whatever you could do to make a person happy. And sometimes things we gotta do. Bells, little reminders, bells. These are like, hey, time is up in about 5 minutes. I'm gonna ring the bell. Or if I have to use timers, I use a lot of timers. I use lots and lots of timers. Sometimes for the older kids, check this out. Sometimes you got to get really creative. Listen, if this is going to get them that A that they need to pass the grade, then this is nothing compared to where you're getting them. Or even if it's a B or a passing grade, right? Moms, rewards in the classroom. You can give these things to the teachers, right? All of these things here. I got tons of them. I got all kinds. A little trophy just fell, but I use little trophies. I use, anything that shows progress, that shows like a wow. I use, and I've used them for years, and they've worked, and they continue to work. Things as simple as this you could use, and I make it playful. I make lots of rewards. Here, like the reward jar. Now in here, there's all kinds of things. You got slime, and you got pencil. Well, the pens are really for me, but you got little, and each one has a surprise in it. And my students, they all get one after each session. They don't never know what it is, but they get something. They get some kind of reward. Now, I also like to be very creative. When it comes to getting through kids' minds. Now, one of the things I do, like if a parent tells me, they'll call me up, or they'll text me and say, Miss Allison, so-and-so is doing this and this and this, oh my goodness, or this one doesn't want to learn, or she's really this or this, whatever it is. I'll go and I don't know anybody else who does this, like in my field, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who understands this concept. But what I do is I go ahead and I will get one of my puppets, and we will make a little video, and we send it to the child, and guess what? The child gets the work done, or whatever it is. If it's cleaning their room, if it's doing their homework, whatever it is. And then, it's a nice video. It's a uplifting video, one to give them saying, yes, I'm gonna do it. Oh yes, because then they get to pet, or they get to meet little Ellie, or I'll bring Ellie on the next session, and then they get all excited and they want to do it and they want to see Ellie, and then we make it happen, right? Little things like this. Hey, listen, a little piece of candy here and there, right? Kids love it. You don't need to get them filled with candy, which I think I'll have one. No, I'll have a reward for making this video. But little things like this. I'm into like little contracts and agreements. Listen, we gotta compromise. We gotta teach these kids how to compromise at a very early age, okay? because they will try to trick you. They will try to manipulate you. But you always got to know you could never give in, and consequences is really, really, really important. Consequences is super important. Oh, we got our little kitty here. I got to put him down on this side. Listen, whether they be positive or negative consequences, they both equally play a huge part of molding and shaping these kids. Okay, so if they do something wrong, you got to nip it on the butt immediately. Don't let time go by. If they did something wrong, you got to attack it immediately so it won't happen again. For my son, it never happened twice. He had to say he was sorry verbally. He would have to write a note. I made him watch YouTube video if it was something disrespectful. He had to explain why he did it, why he did what he did, and what he learned from what he did, and why he won't do it again. And I made sure I did all that. Things that would make sure, I guess that was positive punishment, you would call it. You would throw more things on so he learns what to do and what not to do, what the consequences are. So, that is the way it is. And again, that's being their voice. You got to be their voice, and for the good and for the bad. And as far as being their voice in public, never give the mic to anybody else. That microphone belongs to you, mom, or the caregiver, the main caregiver. Usually it's mom. That mic belongs to you. You hold that mic and you speak for your child, whether it be in the school, in the community. Just do your part as a parent and hold structure. Believe in your kid. Never give in. Believe in the consequences, whether they're negative or positive. Know what your kid likes. Understand his mind. Know why he does what he does. Like, learn about it. Dissect his actions. Every action, look at the antecedent. What happened before the behavior? Okay, what happened? Whether it's a positive behavior or a negative behavior, right? Dissect it. What happened? Well, what if it was a negative? What do we need to do to go around that behavior? If it was positive, well, we need to do some more of that, right? So you got to learn. You got to learn you got to learn your kid's brain. And if you're an RBT, same thing. You got to learn the kid's brain. You got to make that connection. That's number one. You got to make that connection. Parents, you got to make that kid feel safe. Listen, every kid I have, they smile when they see me. The parents, when they say that they hear my name, that I'm coming over, they get like really excited. And that's because I give these kids love. Listen, I'm not saying nobody else does, but what I do is I give them love. I understand them. I talk to them. I listen to them. I let them give me their opinions if they're verbal, which most of them are. I listen to their dislikes. If they don't like if I'm doing it in a certain way, why does it hurt? Or why should it matter to try a different way? If the kid likes it on the left instead of the right, well, let's try it. It doesn't mean that he's always going to get his way. Maybe that's the way he prefers. So if he does the session well and he doesn't ask for more changes, then maybe that's his way. Try it the next session, same way. Maybe he really likes it that way, right? So learn of his mind. And again, I already talked about therapy, how important it is for children to have therapy across the board. Now, for my son, when he was in handwriting, well, what his problem was when he was when he would write in second grade, his letters and words were so small, he crunched them all up and he would go slanted. So instead of like this, so you couldn't read what he said, what he was writing, and it was slanted. So I sent him to therapy for a couple of sessions, and I told my older daughter, watch the way he does it. You know, observe the way they perform therapy, even with other children. Just look around, scope, and see how the center is. Like, learn, and let me know. She did 2 sessions. I said, oh, okay. We brought the little gripper, And then she said, the way they were holding the pens and whatnot. Well, that child, her birthday was coming up. So that means it was in February of 2012, I believe. It might be 13. No, it was 2012 because the DSM-V came out. The DSM-5 came out in 2013. So it was in 2012. And my daughter's birthday was coming up. And it was in 2013. Sorry, 2013. And I said, okay, my son, I said, if you can clear up your handwriting in 2 weeks, we are going to go to Disney World. Would you like to go? Or I think I asked him if he would like to go to Disney World first. And then I gave him, the option. My son, 1 week, fixed his handwriting. We worked on it every day. And he did it. He wasn't perfect at writing, but he was on the line. And his letters were now separated the way they're supposed to be. So we went to Disney World. We had a great time. Now, I'm not saying parents. Coincidentally, I just had that planned for my daughter. And it worked out as a perfect motivator. And that was it. Though, of course, he still has sloppy handwriting, but he's a boy, and it is what it is. But he improved, right? Speak to your kids, but let them speak to you also. You could learn so much by listening to your children speak about their minds. By the way they talk, you could figure out some of the things that you're trying to figure out just by listening to them talk. I had my son do videos. He was thinking he was doing videos to help other children. Of course he was. But I was doing it to dissect that conversation because I would ask him the questions. I told you I was his therapist all the way through. And I would ask him questions. And questions I wanted to know. How was I wanted to dig in and see if there was any maybe depression, or I always wanted to make sure his mental health was where it needed to be. And he was very open, always very open. Anytime he got in trouble, he never lied about what he did. He was always commended on his mannerism, on his politeness, and on his honesty. Always, always, no matter what complaint anybody ever had, that was always an A on his rating. Always, always. And that's who he is, and I'm thankful for that. So I never had to worry about that, but I addressed every issue. Like, I never let anything go. Never give up. Parents, never give up. Never give up. Listen, your kid needs you. You are their sanctuary. This love that I give each one of my students, I call them students, clients, whatever you want to call them, I give them love no matter who they are, whether they're on the spectrum or not. I let them know how I believe in them. I let them tell themselves that they believe in them. I reassure them that they could do it. I show them that they could do it after they've done it. I remind them. And again, you got that repeating, you gotta just keep repeating, parents. You gotta repeat. RBTs, you just gotta repeat. Keep repeating, keep on and on. It's like repeat until it sinks in, and that's it. So some of the things that I used, that they used in today's as RBTs in the BCBA world, discrete child training. I always use single stimulus. I know paired stimulus. Listen, the only paired stimulus I use is for me and the child to be connected. That's the paired stimulus. We stimulate each other. He motivates me to motivate him. So we motivate each other. That's the only time pretty much I use paired stimulus with and without replacement. I never use that ever. I always use single stimulus always and I'm a professional photographer. I forgot to mention for children with special needs and families and weddings and all that good stuff. So again, I use ABA techniques on every client I do who is a child, and whether they're on the spectrum or not. That's just the way I do it. I like, the kids need verbal, they need visual, and they need tangible. In other words, they gotta see, they gotta feel, they gotta hear. Okay, give them examples on all ways. Don't just, a kid doesn't grasp, count to 5. They don't know, or they don't get it. Try in all different ways. Don't keep repeating yourself the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, you didn't get it. Try a different way. Well, get maybe 5 cookies, or get maybe 5 marbles, or just try different things. You got to keep, 5 polka dots. Just do it different each time. And that's the same again as the DTT, discrete trial training. Just keep going over it. You just got to be creative. And that's about it. So that's my tricks. You got to be persistent and consistent. You have to have a game plan, always have a goal, have lots and lots of rewards, of course, that the kid likes and that the kid wants. Whether it's the movies, an ice cream, a new game that came out. It could be something as simple as this. Okay, to make them earn it. Listen, they can just go put a pair of shoes in the corner where they belong, and they could earn it. Just whatever they do, just to have them do something to earn it, so they learn. Listen, my son is 18, okay, and I'm just about letting go of the reward system, but he knows if he doesn't pay his car insurance, he gets the car taken away. So that's ABA. It is what it is, and that's what I do. So I master it. I don't have not one child who I have not been successful with. I have parents who've gotten on board. They're stunned with the results. I implement it first, and then I implement it into the home. So I do it until the child is used to the way I'm doing it. Hey, you know what? You're not, okay, I'll get a McDonald's, for example, if they like McDonald's, or if they like, I kind of try to do healthy things. But I always try something tangible that they earn, and whatever it is that we discussed that they're gonna earn is what they work for, and I'm very successful at it. There hasn't been not one client of mine, luckily, that I haven't been not successful. And I do it, and I go around. If they don't accept the first time, I go around and I keep on until I find what it is they like. And that's the trick. That's the trick in as far as an RBT, where we got to get kids. We got to find out where that spot is of motivation, and we got to run with it. So now, you know what? He likes Roblox. Okay, now we're going to surround every reward with Roblox until they get tired of that, or until they reach where they got to go, and now you wean off that. Now it's extinction. You put it on the extinction. You don't have to reward it anymore, because now they do it naturally. It's in a natural environment. They do it in school. They do it at home. That's it. Now their mind is shaped for that. Let's say sitting in class, or sitting when at home at the table when you got to eat, or if you're in a restaurant, wherever you go, you got to sit down at the table and you got to eat. Now DRO and DRI and DRA are different methods. Like DRO is other, like you commend the child if they're doing another behavior other than the one that you don't want them to do, or the incompatible. DRI, that's incompatible. Well, you can't stand and sit at the same time, right? So that's incompatible. So you try to do behaviors that they can't do. So you give it to them, the opposite. There's things that are not compatible. Hey, listen, you want them to sit, you don't want them to stand. Okay, well, we have to get them to sit. Incompatible behavior from what they're doing. And alternative, alternative is another one. Alternative, well, we're going to do this. And there's an alternative behavior to what he was doing. And then you praise. You always got to praise the kid. Just always praise the kid. Always uplift them. Let them know you believe in them. Let them know that you're, no matter what, the world could not believe in you, but I do. And then they start believing in you. You believe in them, and then they start believing in you. And then everything you tell them, they believe it. So if you tell them, look, we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, or I'm going to help you this, or then you win them. You win their confidence. And that's what these kids need. They need our guidance. They need us to hold their hand until they're ready to let it go and do it on their own. Some take longer than others. I'm not saying I'm magic with every session, but I could tell you every session is a magical session. I get kids to do things way quicker than a lot of these other RBTs. Oh, not because the RBTs don't know. It's because I've been doing it so long that I kind of already know how to maneuver a child's thinking, and the reverse psychology and the way kids think, and every kid is different, but there's similarities in every child. Like, one may not jump, but the other one, and they may do something similar, sitting at the table tapping, or there's always similarities in one way or another, but they're all different. So it's a matter of learning your child or the child you're working with, and just run with the ball and give them love and understanding, and you're gonna see what they are going to give back. And what they give back is to they're bettering themselves. So we're helping them become better people for society of tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Once again, my name is Allison, Mrs. Allison's Tutoring and Behavioral Mentor Services. God bless you. God bless every child that we touch, and may they all make a difference in tomorrow's world.